Hello everybody. I just thought I'd give you a bit of a catch up on the Vincent. I'm probably halfway through roughly the mock-up stage. As you can see, we've got the engine together, the front forks, the tank, and then I've obviously got the rear swinging arm. Now, none of this basically, some of it is prepped for a sort of as a prelim of finish. Some of the crankcase are polished slightly just to make sure, like on the Vincent logo, you'll probably notice if I can get it to focus. The Vincent logo sort of polished, and mainly because it was quite rough really. The casting was a little bit rough, and I was a little bit worried that it wasn't there actually. There was a lot of excess casting material. So it's all at a very basic file. So it's going to need a lot more polish and it's going to need a lot more finish before we obviously do it to paint. So you might see a few little lines in it. You might see a few blotches in the white metal because it's just not finished yet. All this basic situations for really for me is to make sure the bike goes together. So I just want to make sure that everything fits, and it's the big bits that I'm doing at the minute. So the engine and obviously the tank and everything else will necessarily will follow on. So I'll give you a bit of a spin round. So it's just to make sure that everything fits. So the fins might not be completely, but so just everything's sort of held together. There's no glue apart from the swinging arm and the side casings. Everything else is just sort of balanced and held on by gravity, really. That's all you really need. These bits where you see brass sticking out, it's just basically there should be a white metal pin, or there should be a rivet or whatever that will hold it together. I haven't even done that yet, and there's a lot of detail that's missing from the engine. I would say there's a good 50%, maybe even 60%, you know, of pipe work and fittings. But like I said before, there's just no point putting that on because it'd all have to come off anyway, because it needs to be painted. So the only time I'll start to crack out of that is when the engine's actually, you know, it'll be painted and lacquered, because the engine's going to be, the crankcase is going to be gloss, and then the fins I think are semi-gloss. So everything else will then I'll start to fit the extra pieces, and yeah, there'll be a lot more painting of little bits and pieces. So. But this is just basically a prelim stage. It's like the tank. The tank's pretty rough. I've had to carve out a little bit of the front end to get it on, and I've also had to sort of get ready for the mounting. You have to put your own mounting pieces in. Again, that needs pinning, but again, all I will do is make sure the holes are right size and slightly. This is a bit of a tip: slightly oversize it. If it's saying a 1 mil hole, I'll sometimes drill them out to maybe 1.1, 1.2, mainly because when you paint it, the paint and the lacquer will fill the hole. And if you have to drill them out again, if they're slightly oversized, you don't have to drill them out. That's fine. You run the less risk of getting chipping. If you need to drill them out though, especially if you're using 2-pack lacquer. So when you get the paint lacquered, they'll tell you to give the lacquer, you know, 3 or 4 days to harden. Drill the holes out before it hardens, and what you'll find is you'll reduce the risk of chipping. Because obviously when the lacquer gets completely hard, it is tough paint though. But I've always drilled it when the paint's been slightly soft. Same as when you move masking film, I always do when the paint's just slightly dipped. If you're putting the base coat on and you have masked, get it off while the paint's been dry. If it's touch dry, it's done. It's fine as long as it's touch dry, and get the masking tape off and then let it dry hard. And so you just really reduce the risk of chipping and breakage. So really, that's about it. Really, I just thought I'd give you a bit of a catch up. I haven't really done very many videos. I've been at work, so again, I've just done little bits. So the next thing on this, looking at the instructions, is the wheels. So I've done a video on the wheels. I will get that up in the next few days, so you can see on the spoking. I've explained a bit in the video, but basically I've tried to do some of the spoken on the wheels. It's extremely difficult to get you guys into the picture because the spokes are quite small and the camera doesn't really focus very well. So I've tried to give you a bit of an insight into the spoken. People ask me a lot about the spoken of the wheels, and I've tried to give you a bit of an insight on how to do it. Unless you get like a microscope, the thing I find is if you get things in the way, I can't see to do it. I can't see to do the work very well. So I'm not really used working with cameras, as I've said before. But I'll pull it up and take what you can from it. As I said, any questions that you have with any of these kits, just chuck them in the comments, and I'll answer them as best as I can. So I'll leave it at that for this one, and I'll catch you in the next video.